All right. Good evening. My name is Sharice Vickers, and I am the Executive Director to the City of Newburgh Industrial Development Agency in connection with the project, which is the subject of this hearing. Letting people in at the same time. Today, I'm holding this public hearing to allow citizens to make a statement for the record relating to the involvement of the agency with a project, the proposed project, for the benefit of 104 Washington Street LLC, the company. This meeting has been noticed and is being virtually held on the Zoom meeting platform due to the declared state disaster emergency and Governor Cuomo's executive orders. Participants have been advised how to enter this public hearing by Zoom, either by voice or by video call. The proposed project consists of the following: the acquisition of an interest in an approximately 5,000 square foot parcel of real property located at 104 Washington Street, Newburgh, New York, the land. The construction on the land of the improvements consisting of an office or retail space with approximately up to 8 residential units, the facility. The granting of certain financial assistance within the meaning of Section 854.14 of the Act with respect to the foregoing, including potential exemptions from certain sales and use taxes, real property taxes, real estate transfer taxes, and mortgage recording taxes, collectively the financial assistance, and the lease with an obligation to purchase or sale of the project facility to the company or such other person as may be designated by the company and agreed upon by the agency. As disclosed at the regular meeting of the agency held on October 26, 2020, the company has submitted a certain application for financial assistance. This application was submitted to the agency in October 2020, and a copy is on file at the office of the agency. Pursuant to the Enabling Act, the agency scheduled this public hearing. I intend to provide general information on the agency's general authority and public purpose to provide assistance to this proposed project. I will then open the comment period to receive comments from all present who wish to comment on either the proposed project or the financial assistance contemplated by the agency with respect to the proposed project. The legal authorization and powers of the agency. The legal authority for the IDA will be set forth in the written transcript of this hearing. Purpose of this public hearing. Pursuant to Section 859A2 of the General Municipal Law of the State of New York, the Act, prior to the agency providing any financial assistance as defined in the Act of more than $100,000 to any project, the agency, among other things, must hold a public hearing pursuant to Section 859A of the Act with respect to said project. Since the proposed financial assistance to be provided by the agency with respect to the proposed project may exceed $100,000, then prior to providing any financial assistance as defined in the Act of more than $100,000 to the proposed project, the agency must hold a public hearing on the nature and location of the project facility and the proposed financial assistance to be provided by the agency with respect to the proposed project. After consideration of the application submitted to the agency by the company at the regular meeting of the agency held on October 26, 2020, the members of the agency adopted a resolution on October 26, 2020, the public hearing resolution, authorizing the chair or the executive director of the agency to conduct this public hearing with respect to the proposed project pursuant to Section 859A2 of the Act. The executive director of the agency caused notice of this public hearing to be mailed on December 7, 2020 to the chief executive officers of Orange County, the City of Newburgh, and the City of Newburgh School District, and published on December 9, 2020 in the Times Herald Record, a newspaper of general circulation available to residents of the City of Newburgh, Orange County, New York. In addition, the executive director of the agency caused notice of this public hearing to be hand-delivered to the mayor of the City of Newburgh on December 7, 2020, and posted on December 7, 2020 on the agency's website, and also a public bulletin board located at City Hall, 83 Broadway, Newburgh, New York. Now, unless there's any objection, I'm going to suggest waiving the full reading of the notice of this public hearing and instead request the full text of the notice of this public hearing be inserted into the record of this public hearing as Schedule A. The comments received today at this public hearing will be presented to the members of the agency at or prior to the meeting at which the members of the agency will consider whether to approve the undertaking of the proposed project by the agency and the granting of the agency of any financial assistance in excess of $100,000 with respect to the proposed project. Written comments. The notice of this public hearing indicated that written comments could be addressed to Sharice Vickers, Executive Director of the agency. We have not received any written comments. I now invite Mr. Philippe Pierre and Charlie Hubner to present their project, 104 Washington Street.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Thank you, Cher, for going through that legalese for us and setting up this public hearing. Should I share my screen? Is that maybe the best way to do this?
Yes.
All right, let me see if I can do that. Host disabled attendee screen sharing. I think you have to enable screen sharing.
Let's see. Does it work now?
Ooh, let me try.
It's my
That's
screen.
your screen. Okay.
All right.
Let me see if I can share.
Again. It's one participant. Okay, try this now. Multiple.
Ah, yes, got
Okay.
it. Cool. Sharing. Are you seeing?
Yes, I am.
Do we have a thumbs up? Okay, very good. Thank you. All right, 104 Washington Street. Just, I guess, for the record, the proposed project that we're presenting here is the result of an RFP process that was conducted by the Land Bank in 2020 as part of an RFP proposal soliciting RFPs from developers for the development of this site. Mistral Construction won the bid to develop the site by proposing a ground up mixed use, mixed income development of the site. We proposed 6 stories at the time, and with the understanding that the existing structure was not salvageable, though we would try, and we have since concluded that it's not possible to save the structure. And so we're proposing, like I said, a ground up development, one of the first of its kind in Newburgh. Much like 96 Broadway, which was our other project that we undertook with the Land Bank, DIDA, and other local partners at the county and city level. At this time, we're proposing one of 2 options at the moment based on some feedback that may be echoed here tonight during the public comment period. But essentially, we're looking to create a ground up structure. There have been concerns around the height and the massing of the building, which we've taken into consideration. One option would be a 4-story building with 26 or so residential units. The other option would be a 6-story building with 32 residential units. Both of these are permitted per the City of Newburgh zoning and planning regulations, but in response to some public comment, we're sort of exploring ways to incorporate that feedback into the sizing, the massing, and the design of the building. So that's why we've got 2 options, but at a minimum, 4 stories, 28 units, at a maximum 6 stories, 32 residential units. That being said, the commercial ground floor would be the same in both instances, ranging from 2,000 to 4,000 square feet of commercial frontage, kind of in a storefront format. The mixed, so again, the whole ground floor, most of the ground floor will be commercial. It can be split into 2 sections or just leased out as one big space. For the mixed income section, it's really a range from 60% of AMI, which would be a single person earning no more than $53,000 a year, to full market rate housing that has no AMI restrictions, and kind of a rainbow in between. The idea being that the middle income or people with modest incomes who currently live in the city of Newburgh but are being priced out through the affordable housing crisis that we're seeing locally, regionally, and on a national scale, would have a place to call home in the downtown Newburgh Business District. The size of the project is large. It's a $5.5 to $6.5 million project. The developer will be providing up to $1 million of equity. We're seeking debt financing from the Community Preservation Corporation, which is a lender that is very familiar with development in Newburgh. We work with them on 96 Broadway and some other developments that we've undertaken in the city of Newburgh. We have a strong relationship with them. They've issued us a commitment letter for this project. We're also working with the New York State Home and Community Renewal Department that's led by Madeline Fletcher, ex-director of the Newburgh Community Land Bank. And we've also received a $500,000 grant from Orange County Home. We got the letter a couple weeks ago, actually. So very excited to have that in the piggy bank. The assistance that we're seeking from the IDA is the full menu of inducements that are available to projects, the tax pilot, the sales tax abatement, and the mortgage recording tax abatement. The benefits to Newburgh, I think, are worth mentioning. We pitched the project as a way to increase density in the downtown business district, and that's exactly what this will do. By creating density, it will increase demand drivers and create general economic and cultural activity in the heart of the downtown district. Of course, regardless of the pilot, or as a result of the pilot that we're seeking, the city will see net new tax dollars in its coffers, something that it has not seen generated from this particular section, block, and lot for over 40 years. It's been a cost to the city. We're looking to reverse that trend. Through the increased economic activities of 32 families in the area, that's increased sales tax allocation from the county. Obviously, an increased customer base for our local businesses, and also something that we've heard in some of the other public hearings from people in support of this project is that this will signal to those who are looking at Newburgh. And of course, Cher, you know that there was recently an article in the New York Times that will kind of spotlighting Newburgh as, I forget what it's called, the gem, the lost gem, the forgotten gem on the Hudson. But to all of those who are on the sidelines looking at Newburgh and wondering, is this a place that's functioning? Is this a place that's open, quote unquote, for business? Should we invest in Newburgh? We believe that demonstrating that ground up development can happen in Newburgh, should happen in Newburgh, and that would signal to others that they should also invest in Newburgh. And that's what's been said. Also, I think 96 Broadway, just by way of an example, was a way of demonstrating that very same concept. And I think we can argue that the revitalization of that building showed that an investment can pay off and has a knock-on effect with other projects. Anyways, this building's been an eyesore. It's been attempted to be redeveloped by some very well-meaning people before us several times over. They've all failed. The site obviously is in a dangerous condition at the moment. And the design that we're proposing, we think is an improvement. There's been some feedback about the design. We're internalizing that, we're reflecting on that. We'll be proposing some new iterations in 2021. That being said, this is about job creation, so we really want to talk about both the construction jobs, but also long-term jobs. So during the construction period, which could be, we're hoping 18 months, but could be up to 24, local construction jobs will be created. We're estimating about 20 full-time equivalent employees. That's about $1.75 million of just new dollars in wages, sort of circulating. I'm sure you've seen with the Rupco project, there's a lot of we see it at the restaurant, people coming in for lunch that we don't usually see. These construction projects do pump real dollars into the local economy. And so that is something to consider and to quantify. On a more long-term prospect in terms of jobs, we have a couple options here that we're entertaining and trying to flesh out with operators. So one is a co-working space. I know we were introduced to the guys up in Albany. We had a great conversation with them. They're basically underwriting office space at 75 square feet of office space per worker. So I'm sorry, I can't see my part of my screen here. So, we estimate about 25 to 50 new jobs, depending on that square footage, for the co-working option. I think that's also kind of the same if, say, an insurance company, or a brokerage firm, or any sort of office type tenant wanted to move into the commercial downstairs, would probably bring along 25 or so jobs. So that's kind of one option for the commercial space. Another is kind of more traditional retail or food establishment. There's obviously the restaurant row dynamic going on right there. So that could be interesting for an operator. Also, there's some retail happening there, and I know people have wanted to see more of that. So these spaces could certainly be made available to that. They'll be drawing foot traffic both from the people within the building, but also as people as that sidewalk and that area becomes more developed and people tend to park more in the municipal lot, there's just more foot traffic will be circulating around the Washington, Liberty, and Street parking lot area. So that's another one. The third option that we're working on is kind of a childcare or school option. There's a lot of demand for childcare right now in Newburgh. There aren't really many places, at least that I know of, for childcare. So I don't know if this would be a daycare or more like a more elementary in nature, but we have been approached by people who've been interested in bringing that to downtown Newburgh. So keeping that kind of as an option as well. So finally, just on a bit of an update in terms of where we are right this second. We've received the zoning appeals that we sought. One was for the parking variance that was required. The other is for the rear setback variance. The ARC, we've appeared twice. There was some feedback, both for and against the project. That again, where we've taken a beat, we've gone back, sat down with our design professionals, revisiting the size, the massing, the overall designs, taking that into consideration. We were reworking some of the underwriting because design decisions have economic consequences. So that's something that we have to make sure is still working. But our plan is to go back to the ARC in January to present a new design. The planning board, we've presented the site plan. It's been discussed, it's been reviewed by city staff, and it's kind of in a holding pattern until such time as there's an approval from the ARC. In terms of site control, we have signed the sale and purchase agreement. We've paid the deposit to the Newburgh Community Land Bank. We've told them that we're kind of in the process of getting our approvals, and so we're going to coordinate the approval process and the purchase process just to make sure that those are in lockstep. And then finally, the environmental phase 1 has been ordered from Sterling Environmental. It's a firm that we've used in the past. They do great work. And we're hoping to get that before Thanksgiving, or I'm sorry, Christmas. The initial conversations with the principal there, no alarm bells ringing there. So we should have a clean phase 1 soon. But we've had a clean phase 1 before. So until the ink's dry on that, no promises. And that's the state of play.
Okay, thank you, Philippe. We're going to open the floor now for comments. Note the time, it's 5:25. As you know, due to the state emergency declared by the city mayor, this public hearing is being held via virtual communication. It is also being recorded. Accordingly, by way of operating rules, when I ask if there is a public comment, I will recognize one person at a time. I will first request comments from any elected or public officials which may want to speak. I will then open the line to the remainder of the public. If you wish to make a public comment, I will ask you to please be patient and wait to be recognized. Once recognized, please state your name and address for the record. When everyone has had the opportunity to speak, I will conclude this public hearing. A record of this public hearing will be prepared and reviewed by the members of the agency in connection with the agency's consideration of the proposed project. Again, the purpose of this public hearing is to solicit public comment. We are not here to answer questions. However, we will during this public hearing consider questions if we have the information to answer the questions and there is sufficient time to consider such questions. I will now ask if there's anyone in attendance who wishes to comment on either the nature and location of the project or the proposed financial assistance being contemplated by the agency with respect to the proposed project. For the record, again, please state your name, your address, and indicate your comments on either the proposed project or the proposed financial assistance being contemplated by the agency with respect to the proposed project. I'll review this list here, see if there's anyone who I believe to be a public official. And then we will open it up to the public. Just please bear in mind to keep your comments around 5 minutes or less. We have here Judy Thomas as our first comment.
Hi, Cher. Thank you for hosting this meeting. In general, I am really excited to see this development happen. I did comment at, I believe, the ARC meeting, and that was basically in regard to 6 stories. And I'm really feeling that the 4-story concept as an option is a more cohesive with the surrounding neighborhood. With that said, I am hoping that there is some financial help for this project, but this may seem excessive to me in the request and where those monies are coming from in terms of pilots and tax abatements. And I also, just in general, I am very happy that Philippe has stated that he is going back to his designers for the project to get some alternate plans to present. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any further comments? Antonio Oresco, please.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, my name is Antonio Oresco. I am the owner and occupant of number 12 Spring Street, approximately 2 blocks from the proposed development. First, I would like to say thank you to Philippe for considering the 4-story option. Definitely in support of that, and I hope that's the way it goes. The other comment I would say is, as far as the financial incentives, I think considering how prime of a location this is, I think that they are a little bit excessive. I think that the desirability of Newburgh is beyond, even the article that Philippe mentioned. And I really don't think that this amount of money is really appropriate to attract developers, because we're seeing building permits on every block of the city, and we're seeing development sites being proposed, within blocks of this development. So that's what I have to say, and thank you for your time.
Thank you. Do you have any other comments? Please raise your hand. You guys are using the raise hand feature really well. Thank you. Hannah Anderson, please.
Hi, thank you again, Cher. I would like to support both Judy and Antonio's comments, and add a couple of my own, which is that for the fact that both the 4- and 6-story are still being considered, I think it would be premature to award any sort of monetary assistance for that. I also have real concerns about where that money comes from. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't start with announcing myself. I am the owner occupant of 227 Du Bois, and I work and manage the Atlas building, which is at 11 Spring Street, which is a large commercial rehabilitated building. So going back, I think that the fact that it's just that there are still 2 very drastically different options, one which I strongly believe would be detrimental to that area of the city, having a 6-story building like that, right off the bat should warrant not considering anything until there's a concrete plan in place. I also agree with Antonio that is really a prime spot, and if you look at all of the city of Newburgh that little stretch of Liberty Street is one of the most bustling and well-supported areas. I also think that in terms of attracting, as Philippe described, people, I think that was really meant to be towards developers. I think that if developers think that this is a place where they can come and get, large financial support or tax abatements, that will attract them, but I don't think that that is responsible long-term for the city, as we all know that there's the city needs money desperately and the tax base is struggling to fulfill that. So I don't really see any scenario where a for-profit project like this should warrant tax abatement and setting the precedent for future tax abatement. And I believe that's all my comments for now. Thank you.
Thank you, Hannah. Do we have any other comments?
No, sorry. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else in attendance
I have a comment.
wish to comment? Okay.
This
Amy, okay. Just state your name and your address, please.
Thanks, Chair. My name is Amy Rouse Segnet. I actually live in Cornwall, but I work in the Atlas building. My concern about this project, and I also want to say I'm pleased to hear that there's a 4-story alternative to be considered. But my concern is about parking. I'm really unclear as to what your parking plan is. And furthermore, you said you want to increase density to the area, but if there's no parking in the building, I see that as a problem for the future. And I'd really like to clearly understand how you plan for that. That's my main concern. Thank you.
Thank you. That's entirely up to Philippe and Charlie if you have the information to share now, or if you don't, that's fine as well.
Maybe we could just respond to everything at the end when all the comments have been heard, maybe?
Sure. Do we have any other comments? Okay, I don't have anyone else raising their hand. So
I'm happy to answer the question. And the concerns and the comments. Thanks everyone. Thanks Team Atlas. Good to see you guys here. And we're listening. So, rest assured. On the parking option or comment, the municipal lot, which is just a couple feet to the west of the proposed site, that's where people will park. And we went to the zoning board and asked for a zoning variance because we need a variance for the parking in order to have a place for all those people to park. That's not to say that there are specific parking spots that are allocated to the residents or to this building, but what that's saying is that of the 250 spots that are in that municipal lot, some of those are going to be used by this project. So that's sort of mechanically how we've addressed the parking issue with bringing such density to that area. Sorry, my Siri just got all crazy. And then just another point is, currently the lot generates 0 revenue for the city and has generated 0 revenue for the city. And what we're proposing is to generate revenue for the city by entering into a tax pilot with the city, meaning we would basically pay a lump sum of property tax, but it'd be predetermined. And the idea is that, as I'm sure some of you who are property owners in the city of Newburgh may have had this experience where you buy a house and all of a sudden the taxes double on you. And if you're doing that with a $7 or $8 million project, and the taxes double all of a sudden, or they're unpredictable, the bank is not going to be very comfortable with that. And so at scale, these projects seek to understand what the tax exposure is over the long term. And that's why these pilot agreements exist. But the point is that there is a net payment by the building to the city of taxes. It's just been pre-negotiated as opposed to being up to someone in the assessor's office who maybe is having a good day or maybe is having a bad day. The risk is just too high for that type of fluctuation to exist. So that's the kind of reason and theory behind tax pilots, and they're effective in providing a stable environment in which large-scale investments can be made in a community. The sales tax abatement and the mortgage recording tax abatements are really rather small, and no one's giving us any money, just to be clear on some of the comments. I'm not sure that that was clear to anyone, but we're not, the city of Newburgh is not writing this project a check in any way. The sales tax abatement is just, we won't be paying sales tax on materials that we purchase. That really kind of affects the county more than the city. And the mortgage recording tax is, I think, a tax that we just wouldn't have to pay, which also goes to the county, but is administered by the IDA. At least that's my understanding. And that's it.
Okay. Hannah would like to give another comment.
Yes, I just had a question, which is, has an amount for the pilot already been determined? And if not, when would that happen? And then maybe also just to clarify, because when a few people did speak, it maybe did sound more like, you know, the city was going to literally just hand you money, but I think it was more about the tax burden and where there are gaps or not enough money. Where does that come from? That comes from everybody else that's paying their taxes. So I just wanted to clarify that. But the question about the pilot, if that's possible. Thank you.
So the nature of this public hearing is just to discuss that it's proposed financial assistance. That's all it is. It's proposed. We don't have any other details than that. We're just asking the public for your comments to know how you all would feel about a proposed financial assistance for 104 Washington Street.
Okay, thank you.
No problem. Do we have any other comments? Okay, if not, I want to thank everyone for attending, and I will close this hearing at 5:41 p.m.
Cool. Thanks, everyone. Thanks for your time, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Take care.